Hey everybody, it's Giuliano Montagnez, your host for Students of the Earth podcast, and today we are actually going to bring you a really cool video. We're going to be visiting ZooTampa. We're going to have an interview with a conservation manager, as well as have a lot of really cool stuff to talk about and videos that we're going to show you about all the different types of animals and discuss our favorite animals at the zoo, as well as conservation efforts and how we can get involved with the zoo and other conservation efforts. I hope you guys like the video. Thank you so much for clicking in. Hope you enjoy it. No worries. Hi everyone, my name is Giuliano Montagnez, for everybody that knows me out there already from the Students of the Earth podcast. Today we are here with Aaron Bolin. We're at the ZooTampa, located in Tampa. We are going to be having a really quick interview for everyone out there listening. It's going to be really fun. We're going to ask a lot of different questions. We're really excited to meet her. So welcome, Aaron. Excited to be working with you.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your podcast and to represent ZooTampa in your conversation about conservation.
Definitely. No, thank you so much again for letting us be here with you guys. For everyone out there wondering, this is actually a dugong skeleton model, I'm assuming, right?
It's a real one.
It's actually a real one. Wow, that's really cool. Definitely. So for everyone out there that doesn't know, a dugong is very similar to a manatee. I know there's a few different little things that differentiate from them, but they're pretty similar, right?
They've got some weirder teeth, a different shaped tail, but all in all, basically giant sea cows.
Awesome. We'll definitely have to cover that in a later episode for sure, make some posts on social media and everything. So yeah, we actually were able to come to ZooTampa because I personally reached out to them and they were kind enough to, agree to do an interview with us, and we're super excited to get this going. It was honestly, really, really exciting for them to reach back out and let us do this with them. And we can't wait to share so many really cool findings that we have here today. Yeah, so we'll actually be starting the interview right now, and we're going to be asking Erin some questions about her background. So Erin, what is your role as the conservation manager here at ZooTampa?
So being the conservation manager is just kind of a small part of my overall job description. But what I really get to be involved with here is helping train our staff and create messaging for our team members to take to the public. So when they're educating our visitors, whether it's on a tour, on the safari truck, chatting in front of animal habitats, the messaging that they share kind of comes out of this office, and we can help them make it the most effective and engaging that it can be. So that's kind of a piece as part of it. Separately, I am also on the green team, and we focus on sustainability here in the zoo. So looking at different ways to reduce our plastic waste, make sure we're being more water-wise, energy efficient, all that sort of stuff is a part of my role as well.
That's awesome, honestly, especially since, that's really why I really wanted to come here and have this interview with you guys, because, our podcast really focuses on everything that has to do with conservation and reducing waste and sustainability. I feel like a lot of these topics nowadays are really hot topics, and it's honestly the best thing that's been going on. I feel like throughout this whole year, I feel like a lot of companies and a lot of people are actually engaging more and trying to become more sustainable, so we're all reducing our waste and becoming a better planet, not just for us, but for so many other different animal species and organisms that, live on the same planet, so that's honestly amazing. So yeah, definitely, thank you a lot for, everything that you do here at the zoo and everything that you try to get the public, involved and engaged with, just so many different conservation efforts and everything like that. But moving on, I really have always had a big interest in getting involved or volunteering or just working with animals in general. It's always been a really big passion of mine ever since I was a little kid.
Same.
So what inspired you to get more involved in wildlife conservation, or just, you know, to come here and work at ZooTampa? What has been something that, you know, more on your background side of that?
Yeah, so from like a personal standpoint, I have always really also loved animals and being out in nature. I was really lucky growing up. I got to go camping, got to go scuba diving, got to go sailing. So there are a lot of experiences that I had as a kid in nature that made me fall in love with it and want to be involved in some way, shape, or form with helping protect it. From a professional standpoint, my degree is in wildlife conservation, and that was mostly because I didn't want to pass the zoology class because it was too hard. So I switched into that, but it worked out really, really well because it led me to my first internship at the Cincinnati Zoo doing summer camps. And so just being engaged with kids and seeing the impact that they can make and how important the education and awareness piece is to conservation and fostering those connections that I had when so fostering those connections that I had as a kid and others is really essential in creating like the next generation of people that love the planet.
No, definitely. I completely agree with that, especially like you said, educating and, you know, getting all this information out there, especially to kids and their families, because the next generation is the one that's going to take over. You know, I believe that that's actually super important, and it's great that that inspired you, you know, to get other people inspired and teach other people. And, you know, it's just like a big chain that keeps happening and a big cycle that'll hopefully keep happening in the future until everybody in our world, you know, knows exactly like what's going on and how to help and how to educate others. So honestly, that's, you know, amazing. That's really cool. More focused here on the zoo. You know, me and my girlfriend Taylor, we come here regularly. You know, it's one of our favorite places to go. You know, so we absolutely love it here. There's so many cool animals that you guys have here and so many cool conservation efforts that you have. Do you have a specific animal that you've worked with here at the zoo, or is there a specific memory, maybe not from here, from a different place, that you were like, wow, you know, that was like the best experience I've had working with animals?
So in my current role and in a lot of my previous roles, I don't work directly with the animals in the sense that I'm caring for them or training for them, but I do have the opportunity to work with them in the sense that I'm bringing people to the animals and helping them create those connections. So probably my most favorite animal here and most favorite memory has got to be with Al, the Aldabra tortoise. I don't know if you visit the giant tortoises in our Africa section of the zoo, but they are so charismatic. They have such a personality. They seek you out to get scratches and just really want your attention. So we, a few years ago, started a signature encounter that brings guests into this animal habitat where they have a chance to learn more about the species and scratch them. Very fun selling point. And I was kind of skeptical. I'm a big reptile fan, but I didn't know if that would be as engaging of an experience as it turned out to be. But Al the Aldabra, he weighs over 400 pounds, and he'll come marching right over with his neck outstretched and wants you to get right in there.
That's awesome. And you know, I know we're definitely have to do like the experience and, you know, the engagement with that. I know you guys do like an encounter as well, right? So I'll definitely have to check that out, because you wouldn't think that about a tortoise.
No.
You know, usually you don't think them as like the cuddly, like, hey, can you scratch my back type of animal like other animals. So that's awesome. And fun fact about like these tortoises, you know, I've heard and I've seen that they can live like a really, really long time, right? Like hundreds of years, like something like that. So that's honestly like really, really cool for these like, you know, animals to do that. Me personally, on my side, there's like so many cool animals that you guys have here. And I was thinking about, wow, like when I asked this question, which one's gonna be mine?
What did you pick?
Oh man, it was really tough, but I think I'm gonna have to say you guys is like the rhinos. Rhinos, to me, like top like 5 animals of all time.
They're
probably
incredible.
number 2 next to cheetahs. I love cheetahs, but rhinos are to me like really, really cool, awesome animals. They're just like so, you know, like big and like powerful, and like the thing that a rhino represents in general, like it's just amazing. And I've seen so many cool like rhino like conservation and like pages and things like that I've been following, and it's just been falling in love with them more and more every day. So that's probably gonna be mine. That one and the painted dogs too. The painted dogs are
Those are
like
cool species.
really
Yeah.
cool. They're like the top, like one of the best, like hunters and successful hunters out in the wild.
Yeah.
And I know that they also need like our help to bring their numbers back up. So
Mhm.
I've been like really falling in love with painted dogs as well, like recently too. So
Yeah, they're super amazing. And the challenge is the more you learn about more species, the more you start to like all the species, which isn't really a
Exactly.
challenge,
Yeah.
but a very awesome thing that in the
Mhm.
long run helps support conservation.
definitely, and that's what I always try to bring the message to all the listeners and everybody that I meet out there. That's like really the main purpose of like coming to the zoo. You want to learn, you want to see as many animals as you can, but also educate yourself and educate everybody that comes here. And that's being that like the main purpose of the zoo. I think it's great, and for us to all learn and see how we can help, it's honestly amazing. So really cool stuff. So now that we're talking about conservation, and all the efforts that you guys are doing here at the zoo, what has been the most uplifting story, or the one that you cared for the most, or that has touched you the most while working here at ZooTampa?
So I feel really lucky to work here at ZooTampa because we do so many different species rehabilitation.
Mhm.
We're actively involved in manatee, Florida panther, and black bear rescue and rehab, and on occasion release, which is really great. But it unfortunately doesn't always happen. A few years ago, 2 Florida panther kittens came into our care. So there is something going on with wild panthers and bobcats that we're not really sure what the cause is, but there seems to be a neurological condition that almost paralyzes wild panthers and wild felines.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know what's causing it, and we don't really know what the solution is. And these 2 little panther kittens had unfortunately lost their mom to this. And it was clear because they were so young that they would not be able to survive if we didn't step in. They were so young that they needed to be hand reared, which means unfortunately they're never going to be able to go back out into the wild. But it was such a magical experience to watch these 2 panther kittens kind of grow up and be healthy and strong and play and learn how to be panthers here in a zoo setting. And it was really great because once they were old enough and a little more confident, they were able to be in a location that guests could come and see them kind of grow and play and really connect to the message of the Florida panther and how imperiled the species is, but also how amazing and wonderful they are. They need a lot of land and they need a lot of connected habitat in order to thrive. And it was a great way for us to message things like the Florida Wildlife Corridor and ensuring that we're protecting space for species across the state of Florida. Those 2 little panther kittens now live up in Live Oak and have our ambassadors for their species up there. So it was just really great to have these 2 kittens here that were able to be saved because of the efforts our vet team and animal care team was able to dedicate to them, and to allow them to be a touchstone and talking point for Florida wildlife here.
Honestly, that's really amazing. All the efforts that they did with these 2 little kittens, especially after the mom not making it because of this condition that you just mentioned. And I know that for like us to be able to do all these conservation efforts and try to help their numbers bring them back, to me personally, like for example, you said that it's like a neurological condition that we still don't know why it's happening, and I can accept that, but I know that there's like a lot of different other things happening, like with humans and like loss of land and things like that it's actually affecting them so like greatly. Like you said, they need more land and diverse ecosystem in order to thrive. So it's sad that it's still going on, and like they keep losing more of their land and stuff like that. Like I know a lot of different animal species that's happening with them, but at the same time it's great that the zoo here like had that opportunity to get these 2 little kittens, and we're able to like basically rescue them from the wild, and like now they're thriving, thankfully, and hopefully we get a lot of more really good heartwarming stories like this one. It was honestly, that's awesome, that ZooTampa was able to do that, and that's amazing to me, really. So, but since we're talking about conservation, I'll share a little bit of my experience working in conservation. I grew up in Puerto Rico, so I lived there my whole life, and when I was growing up, I was probably like in my early teens or like teenager years. I was actually able to work with leatherback sea turtles. You know, so like
Awesome.
these leatherback sea turtles, you know, their numbers, same thing. You know, they need our help, and there's a lot of really, you know, a lot of nesting grounds in Puerto Rico all over the shoreline. And the way that we did it, I worked with this like organization in Puerto Rico. We basically started educating people that lived on the beach. You know, if you ever saw a turtle come out of the water, lay their eggs, just try to like fence it, make sure nobody's like around there, and then give us a call. We'll come out, we'll check it, we'll see when the eggs are gonna be hatching and everything like that. So I was actually able to see like, you know, many nests hatch like during like nighttime and everything, and make sure that they all got to the water. So it was like, you know, I'm happy that I got to live, you know, that and see how these animals really do need our help, especially with like turtles when they hatch at night, you know, like all the lights that are on like in the streets and everything like that, they're attracted to that, thinking that's where the water is because, you know, the reflection of the water. So they'll actually go out into like the streets instead of going back into the water, and you know, it's, you know, that's affecting them, and that's on our end. It's not because predators saw them hatching and, you know, they saw it as prey. It's because like our mistakes, not mistakes, but like our daily lives are affecting them as well. So, but it was still really cool, you know, honestly, one of the best experiences I've ever had. So really, really nice.
That does sound incredible.
But moving on, you know, with the questions here, what is the biggest issue facing wildlife today on your, you know, experience?
That is a very large and loaded question.
Definitely.
So that was one of the questions I really wanted to think a lot about. And I think it all boils down to like our human behavior and human choice. And without going into our gloom and doom spiral of overfishing, deforestation, pollution, climate change, you know, we all have opportunities each and every day to make choices that can positively impact wildlife. And so regardless of what choices we make, if we choose to make one that is more sustainable or has species conservation in mind, it's going to have a ripple effect in the rest of our life and help protect many other species. So, you know, certainly climate change is a really big issue that affects every species on this planet, including humans. And that's something that is also tied up in our consumer choices. Deforestation for whether it be paper product, agriculture, you know, livestock farming, all those types of things are tied into our consumer choices. So I don't think it can really be boiled down into one specific thing, but all of those things do accumulate, and they really all come back to us. Conservation is really about coexisting with wildlife. And, you know, it's understanding and accepting that humans are a part of this landscape. Like, we live on this earth, and we, you know, utilize the ecosystems and we utilize the habitats just as animals do. So conservation is that balance of how do we use it, but also make sure that the animals have a chance to use it as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's, you know, I completely agree with that. And I always say, like, we've already said it today too, but like the more we learn, the more we educate ourselves, you know, the more we're going to find out about all these issues that are facing wildlife, and including us as well, not just, you know, animals. It includes everybody. Like you said, coexisting with the planet and everybody that lives in it, so we all work with it and not against it. So the best thing that we can definitely do is educate ourselves and, you know, just make strides to become better. So now that we're talking about wildlife and all the issues that are, you know, facing, like that all these animals are facing, basically, in your like experience, which animal species around the world do you think need our help the most right now?
This might be another answer that you maybe don't like as much, because I'm going to say all of them.
All of them, yeah, and that's true, yeah.
You know, I think if I said corals, my marine people would be happy. But then if I didn't say frogs, then my, you know, herpes people would be upset. And, you know, rhinos is a huge one that needs a lot of help. And, you know, there are some bird species, like native songbirds, where their numbers are declining. So there's really, I don't want to give one specific answer, because I don't want to take away from the importance of all of the other animals and the actions that we can take to help them. But what is promising is if someone creates a connection with the animal, that favorite animal, they came to the zoo, they encountered it on a hike, that they just love, and they decide to learn more about that animal, and they adopt a behavior that helps that species. Odds are that behavior is going to also positively impact many other species. The orangutans are a huge fan favorite here at the zoo, and I know you did an episode about palm oil.
Definitely.
And you touched on in that episode that, palm oil not only negatively impacts orangutans, but really all these other species that live, in Indonesia. And so if someone comes to the zoo and makes this connection with an orangutan and just loves them and decides to adopt that conservation behavior, it's going to positively impact so many other species that live in that landscape, even if there's another animal that lives on Borneo that is more imperiled than, let's say, the orangutan. So choices for one species can help another.
No, definitely. And that's the message that we want to bring. It's not just one. We did ask you if there's one specific, but there really isn't. There's so many out there that really need our help, and I really like that you said if you find that specific animal that you're absolutely in love with, or that you had an experience with, and you find out a way that you can actually help these animals. For example, orangutans and the Sumatran tigers and all these different animals that live in Indonesia, because of palm oil consumption, they're losing their land, every year, less of their forests is, more of their forest is being cut down. And so they have less of, their area and stuff. And it's really sad. But what we could do over here, like I explained on that previous episode, is find all the products that you consume that contain palm oil and literally just stop purchasing them, and try to find different alternatives. Make sure that all the names, or most of the names, that also mean palm oil, because they can switch the name more a scientific name for it to mask it, which is totally not cool, honestly. That they're doing that. Just tell me what it is. But that's what we could do on our end over here, and obviously find a good conservation organization and donate and things like that. So I really I really like that you said it's not just one, it's all of them, a lot of different animals, and each year I feel the list keeps growing, which is really sad. But if we educate ourselves again, we can definitely make strides to make all these animals, their numbers and everything, come back. So it's really cool.
I can share a resource about palm oil with you and your listeners. There's a really cool free app that's put out by the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, where it has a barcode scanner and a product search, where you can look at a product in the grocery store and it can tell you if it's made with sustainable palm oil and the company's commitment to sustainable palm oil. So palm oil is basically impossible to avoid, and so switching to a sustainable source is probably the best and most feasible solution for our human and animal coexistence. And luckily, palm oil is one of the most high yield crops per acre, which is a great benefit when it comes to land use.
Yeah.
You don't have to use as much land to make the same product. But of course, if it's grown unsustainably and without fair worker conditions, then it's not going to positively impact the environment. So I definitely recommend that app. It's a great way to check your products, and that way you don't have to worry about it hiding in any other sneaky ingredient labels. Yeah.
That's awesome. Because that way you just scan the barcode and it'll tell you right there if it's sustainably, produced or not. So that's honestly really cool. Make sure to mention that and everything. So I'm gonna have to definitely check that out. It's gonna be a lot easier, quicker, and everything too. So definitely, that's awesome.
Yeah,
really.
great.
Thank you so much. For sharing that. So we were mentioning before, in terms of when you come to the zoo, you want to be educated and you want to learn things like that. And I've been to a lot of different zoos and places like that with animals like that. And sometimes something that really bugs me is that when I see guests that are here at the zoo, and if they don't see a tiger running around and jumping and roaring and doing something really cool, they leave and they're disappointed. What differentiates ZooTampa, from other places that are, mainly focused on entertainment, and them being an education center, because I was saying, I wish people would come here to try to learn and just learn. If the tiger wants to sleep, he can sleep. He can do that, and as long as you're learning why the tiger's here and like conservation efforts and everything like that for them. So
yeah, so that's a really good question, and I also kind of think like, why can't we have both? You know, there should be both, because people do come to the zoo for many different reasons, and every audience member is going to be on some different layer of their conservation journey. Some might just be starting out, where you know they're only really invested in seeing animals do, you know, those cool things, and then of course some like yourself are farther along on their conservation journey and are seeing that, you know, tiger participating in choice-based behavior, which is, you know, inherently better for their long term, and understanding that. So from a zoo perspective, you know, I think it's important that we're able to provide experiences for both audiences. And if someone is coming here with just the interest of entertainment in their heart, hopefully we can build a strong curiosity foundation, and then maybe on their next visit they're ready to interact a little more deeply with someone, or stumble across a volunteer in front of the tigers, and chat with them about what the tiger is doing and why it's not, you know, climbing up the tree or roaring. And then maybe even next time they will see it doing a different behavior, and now they can learn about what's going on there, which could hopefully and eventually lead them into being more conservation and education focused, which, like we discussed, can extrapolate out into all those other fun areas of things. But here at the zoo, how I think we try to differentiate is kind of blend the two things together. So when we do offer our tours and our encounters, those are inherently very fun. I mean, you get to feed a rhino, you get to scratch a tortoise, and so, you know, you are having fun, which means you're having a positive experience, you're engaging, and then if we can add in that you know, little layer of messaging, where you walk away thinking of something to carry into your daily life, you know, then we've been successful. So I do think that they go hand in hand, but here we do try to provide many opportunities for learning, both from paid experiences such as the tours, to casual interactions with our volunteers or staff in front of animal habitats, onto our stingray touch habitat, where you can chat with someone who's stationed out there about the stingrays and interacting with them safely here in Florida. So it's kind of like layered into the experience, but inherently, like coming to a zoo, you probably hope that you're gonna have fun.
No, definitely.
But now we're gonna try to make you learn something.
Exactly, and yeah, you know, and that's, you know, that's great. You know, like if you can learn something, you know, something that you've never heard about before, about all these different animals and all these different efforts that you guys are doing, and you're having fun with it too, that will also like spark more curiosity in everybody and all the guests, you know. So that's awesome, honestly, completely, really, you know, like for it. And I personally have a lot of fun when I come here, and I feel like I also learn something new about a different animal species every time that I come here, or of a different conservation effort that's happening somewhere else. I feel like if somebody can come here and like, you know, like learn something new and make like a change in their lives and be like, you know what, I'm gonna start cutting out plastic a little bit more because I saw, you know, some turtles and, you know, they're affected by it, as well as a bunch of other different species in the ocean and stuff. So, and, you know, hey, you're having fun while you're doing it, while you're learning, you know, that's great. Honestly, that's, you know, that's mission accomplished, honestly. So, you know, like it's been such a great, you know, day spending here with you at the zoo, and we are so excited to keep walking around and, you know, like seeing all the different animals that we always come here to see and like we absolutely love. But before we wrap it up, is there anything else that you could say out to everybody listening, how they can get involved, you know, with ZooTampa or any other zoo that are local to them? Like, what can we all do from home, you know, to basically help, and like how can we get involved in conservation with the, you know, with everything?
So that's a really good question. And I would say that everyone in their local community most likely has a accredited AZA institution or another reputable conservation organization in their area that they could reach out to or get involved in. We are accredited by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, or AZA, and we help support this network of conservation projects both locally and globally, whether it's the Species Survival Plan, which is primarily focused on ensuring genetic diversity of animals in managed care, to, you know, sending our fundraising dollars abroad to help communities participate in conservation in their backyard. So there's many local organizations that your listeners could probably reach out to get involved in. I would say, as far as direct conservation action, if they're looking to make a change, I would encourage them to find that animal that they love, that they're just so passionate about, and determine from there what is one of the challenges that they're facing and what's a change that they can make in order to help that animal. Because again, it's going to help many other species across the globe. So if some of your listeners are very into dolphins or those sea turtles you're mentioning, plastics is a great way to help protect them, just reducing our use of single-use plastic. And that not only helps those animals, but really every, you know, species on this entire planet.
Exactly.
So plastic would probably be a good gateway into conservation action for many people to get involved in. And we've all heard about you know, reducing single-use plastic bottles by getting refillables, or bringing your own grocery bags to the store, whether it's a grocery store or to like a department store. But also there's so many other switches we can make, like shampoo, getting rid of plastic bottles in that regard, trying to cook something new from without packaging into the kitchen. So there's many other ways to get involved in plastic reduction without having to stick with those two main kind of touchstones. So whatever people are passionate about and creative, they can find a way to get involved.
Like, that is honestly a really great way for everybody to get involved, you know, in not just like ZooTampa, but like with all these other different great organizations that, you know, work with conservation and environment and everything like that. You know, I feel like volunteering too. Like, there's so many big volunteering opportunities out there that, you know, you can go, you know, clean a beach, or, you know, like work in a different animal sanctuary and something like that. People that actually need our help, you know, that way you're actually giving back as well. So a lot of really cool stuff. There's a lot that we could definitely do out there. It's been really great having you here today, Erin, or, you know, you letting us come to you. So, you know, that's honestly,
thanks
like,
for joining us.
No, it's honestly awesome. And everybody out there, you know, listening and watching this right now, if you get the chance to visit ZooTampa, we definitely recommend you doing it. So many cool animals that are here at the zoo, and a lot of really great people like Erin, you know, that it's their day-to-day lives to protect all these animals and educate the public, so we can all, you know, coexist and learn something, and, you know, something new every single day. So make sure to visit, check out their Instagram. They post a lot of really cool content. I saw that you guys have a new baby Bongo that we saw, right? She still doesn't have a name yet, right? Not yet.
So.
Yeah, so we're really excited to see what the name is going to be. Again, thank you so much. You know, thanks to everybody listening. We'll see you on the next one. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me today here at ZooTampa in the city of Tampa in Florida. Hope you guys enjoyed the video as much as I did. Being here is honestly a really cool experience. We got to see so many cool animals, and we got to learn so much about conservation and what else we could do in order to protect all these different species. Please let me know in the comments, or send me a message what was your favorite animal, or what was the favorite part of the interview as well. And let me know if you visit your local zoo, or if you plan on visiting ZooTampa. It was honestly really cool. Take care, guys. We'll see you on the next one.